Thank you, Madam President. Azerbaijan has been consistent in its support to efforts aimed at ending violence, overcoming the crisis in Syria, and finding a solution by peaceful means and through dialogue. Like all Security Council members, we have also expressed our full support to the Joint Special Envoy of the United Nations and the League of Arab States, Mr. Kofi Annan, and his six-point proposal. As we all want a peaceful solution to the Syrian crisis, it should be emphasized once again that there is no alternative to the mission of the Joint Special Envoy, and he should enjoy uninterrupted support of the international community for the work he is doing. With the adoption of a resolution today, authorizing the deployment of the United Nations Supervision Mission in Syria, another milestone has been set towards addressing the Syrian crisis through peaceful means. We believe that the United Nations Supervision Mission in Syria will be instrumental in monitoring the cessation of armed violence in all its forms by all parties and in monitoring and supporting the full implementation of the Special Envoy's six-point proposal. It's very important that the resolution adopted today once again reaffirmed the strong commitment of the Security Council to the sovereignty, independence, unity and territorial integrity of Syria. Azerbaijan voted in favor of this resolution with the hope that its adoption will contribute to ongoing efforts towards ending violence and human rights violations, facilitating a dialogue, overcoming the crisis and sustaining the achieved progress on the ground. Thank you. I thank the representative of the United Kingdom. I give the floor to the representative of Colombia. Thank you, Mr. President. At the outset, I would like to thank and congratulate the Togolese presidency on convening this open debate on the impact of transnational organized crime on peace, security and stability in West Africa and the Sahel region. We welcome the presence at this very important meeting of His Excellency President of the Togolese Republic. We are also grateful to the Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, for his statement and Mr. Fedotov for his briefing. Mr. President, growing transnational threats contribute to undermining governance, social and economic development and stability, as well as peace-building advances in West Africa and the Sahel region. We note that despite the fragile security situation in a number of countries in West Africa and the Sahel region, no major crisis reported there in recent times. We welcome the activities of the United Nations Office on West Africa and its partners in the UN system, as well as of the African Union, the Economic Community of West African States, and other relevant organizations that contributed to this situation. The efforts of the respective governments in this regard should be noted as well. It is commendable that the states and leaders of West Africa and the Sahel region have adopted a number of important initiatives and measures at national and regional levels to tackle the threat of organized crime in their region. At the same time, despite the progress achieved, risks to peace and stability remain and require continued serious attention. Like other members of the Council, Azerbaijan is seriously concerned by the terrorist and separatist activity and increasing violence and attacks by armed groups, which has been aggravated by the illicit proliferation of weapons from within and outside the region. Nor should we underestimate the risk of the spread of weapons beyond the region, with the potential of their falling into the hands of terrorists and separatists in other parts of the world. The stronger commitment with respect to an international order based on the rule of law and the international law is essential for cooperation among states in addressing common challenges and for contributing to the maintenance of international peace and security. Azerbaijan stresses the importance to ensure that the sovereignty, territorial integrity, unity and political independence of the states of West Africa and the Sahel region are fully observed and respected. It is clear that most of the countries in West Africa and the Sahel region cannot overcome threats in isolation. Even successful national efforts cannot bring overall normalcy and ensuring comprehensive solution if they are not supported by the United Nations system and the broader international community. Serious attention should be given to appeals from the respective countries which need capacity building and funds to counter the threats and address the challenges. We are grateful to the Secretary General for his initiative to deploy the United Nations Interagency Assessment Mission to the Sahel region, as well as for the comprehensive report that the mission has submitted. The analysis carried out by the mission are illustrative of the need to strengthen cooperation, including through the development of common approach for the Sahel region. We agree with the mission's view that any immediate long-term strategy should take into account the root causes of the problems in the region. The findings and recommendation of the mission in that regard require serious consideration, and we hope they will contribute to enhancing the United Nations system-wide strategy to respond to the needs of the respective states. The rise of maritime piracy is another challenge requiring a concerted efforts by countries and organizations of the region with support from international community. Indeed, piracy attacks in the Gulf of Guinea have become more frequent over the last months. This phenomenon represents not only a threat to peace and security, but also to the political and socio-economic development of the countries concerned. We commend the national efforts of the affected countries towards mobilizing international attention to this problem. At the same time, it is vital to develop a comprehensive strategy to counter piracy, as it was specifically noted in the Council's Resolution 2018 of 31 October 2011. In addition, it is important that the countries of the region are provided with the necessary support, including financial assistance, to strengthen their capacity to fight piracy. We look forward to discussing this topic on debate on 27 February. More should be done with respect to inter-community and inter-religious dialogue, which in our view takes on additional importance against the background of the efforts being made towards peace, security and stability in the region. It is obvious that the success will be dependent on greater coherence between all stakeholders. It is therefore important and commendable that in spite of the varied regional membership, all of the countries are willing to work in a more coordinated manner. Last but not the least, Azerbaijan supports the draft presidential statement on the topic to be issued following the debate. I thank you. I thank the representative of Togo for his statement. I give the floor to the representative of India. At the beginning, I would like to thank the distinguished ambassadors Wittig, Puri and Sangu for their comprehensive briefings and express our appreciations for their excellent work and professional steering for the second year of the 3 Security Council committees with counter-terrorism mandates. Azerbaijan strongly supports the close cooperation and effective coordination among the 3 committees. The presidential statement adopted by the Council last week reiterated the need to enhance ongoing cooperation among the 3 committees with counter-terrorism mandates and their respective groups of experts. Information exchange, joint outreach activities and country visits, coordinated activities with international and regional organizations, joint meetings and representation are important tools for effective cooperation among the committees for the benefit of the United Nations counter-terrorism efforts. In this regard, we are pleased to note the increased cooperation between the expert groups in some areas and hope to see more enhanced collaboration in other areas as well. As to the committee established pursuant to Resolution 1373, I would like to underline the utmost importance of full implementation by Member States of the Council's Resolution 1373, 1624 and 1963 and stress in this respect the crucial role of the Counter-Terrorism Committee and its Executive Directorate in promoting and facilitating the implementation of those resolutions. We welcome the issuance early this year, the global survey of the Member States' implementation of the Council's Resolution 1624. We are pleased to note a comprehensive approach of the survey in analyzing the implementation of the resolution by geographical regions and by theme, assessing the evolution of challenges and identifying implementation gaps that Member States encounter. We also commend the elaboration by the Counterterrorism Executive Directorate of the new practical approach to help Member States strengthen implementation of the resolution, which in our opinion constitute the most important part of the survey, to which states should give particular consideration. In regard to the committee established pursuant to Resolution 1267 and 1989, we share the view that Al-Qaeda and its affiliates continue to pose serious threat to international peace and security. Azerbaijan welcomes the committee's ongoing efforts in countering Al-Qaeda-related terrorism. We agree that the committee's practical approach to the Al-Qaeda sanction list, including its regular updates and review, contributes to the universal and effective implementation of the sanctions. It's important that the committee ensures that the sanctions are fully implemented and appropriately adjusted to address the current threats from Al-Qaeda and its associates. We would also like to mention the support rendered by the monitoring team through its outreach activities, including engaging with Member States, collaboration with various regional and sub-regional organizations, as well as with civil society. The monitoring team played a crucial role in raising awareness and increasing knowledge of the sanction regime. We emphasize the monitoring team's contribution to completing narrative summaries for all entries on the Al-Qaeda list. Azerbaijan highly appreciates the activities of the committee established pursuant to Resolution 1540, in particular its close interaction with Member States. It is essential that the committee continues soliciting national implementation reports from Member States and with the support of the group of experts working constructively with them to increase the number of such reports. Meanwhile, we believe that the finalization of the establishment of the group of experts that will assist the committee in carrying out its mandate under Resolution 1540 is crucial. But in doing so, we can't allow any of regions to be overrepresented in the small group of experts. In this regard, we reiterate our firm belief that the broad geographical representation must be one of the major criteria in selecting appropriate experts to serve in the group. I thank you. I resume my function as President of Council, and now I give the floor to the representative of Spain. Thank you, Madam President. First of all, I would like to thank the Secretary General for his comprehensive briefing. Azerbaijan joins the position of the non-aligned movement on the issue, reflected in a letter and its annexes circulated as a document of the Security Council S/2012/223. Azerbaijan shares the common concern of the international community over growing nuclear dangers and risks. Since the first days of its independence, my country has attached a great importance to nuclear security. We acknowledge the international efforts to provide strict implementation of the Non-Proliferation Treaty globally. At the same time, we see that international mechanism and the verification regime are not strong and effective enough to prevent illegal proliferation of nuclear technologies. In this regard, there is a need to further strengthen the concept of the generally accepted, legally binding commitments of non-use of nuclear weapons and nuclear technologies for military purposes. International cooperation has always been a centerpiece of Azerbaijan's efforts in the field of nuclear security and safety. Our activities have been target-oriented and conducted in the spirit of mutual respect and cooperation, recognizing and commending the central role of the International Atomic Energy Agency in developing nuclear security regulations and standards. Azerbaijan succeeded in successful cooperation with the agency on various aspects of nuclear security. It is needless to say that nuclear security and non-proliferation issues are closely interconnected. We believe that Azerbaijan's proposal on the creation of nuclear weapon-free zone at the South Caucasus will be supported by the neighboring countries and the broader international community. Against the background of emerging proliferation threats and due to my country's geographic location, we attach the utmost importance to the prevention of use of our territory as a transit route for illicit nuclear trafficking. In close cooperation with our international partners and in line with international standards, we have developed a comprehensive national export control system with a solid legislative basis. Up to date, our national export control system has proved itself as a reliable mechanism in preventing illicit nuclear trafficking. At the same time, due to continued occupation of the territories of Azerbaijan by neighboring Armenia, we are unable to ensure proper control over a considerable part of our state border. We believe that nuclear security and safety needs should primarily be directed to the enhancement of security and safety of civilian nuclear facilities, taking into account their geographical peculiarities and transboundary environmental implications in light of possible nuclear incidents. In this regard, we are seriously concerned about the nuclear safety situation in our region, affected by the presence of outdated Metsamor nuclear power plant in neighboring Armenia. According to international monitors, this NPP represents a danger to the entire region, and its reactor belongs to the oldest and least reliable category of all 66 Soviet reactors built in Eastern Europe and the former Soviet Union. Moreover, the mentioned nuclear power plant is situated in a highly seismically active mountainous terrain and lacks suitable water resources for cooling its aging reactor. We believe that the operation of Metsamor nuclear power plant must be ceased without delay to prevent any tragic accident in the future. As a contribution to international efforts on nuclear security and as a country committed to combating nuclear terrorism, Azerbaijan has become a part to key international instruments in the field of nuclear security, including the International Convention for the Suppression of Acts of Nuclear Terrorism and the Convention of Physical Protection of Nuclear Materials. I am also pleased to announce that Azerbaijan has recently endorsed the Statement of Principles for joining the global initiative to combat nuclear terrorism in capacity as a partner country. I thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. At the outset, I would like to welcome His Excellency Mr. Eamon Gilmore, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade of the Republic of Ireland, and the OSCE Chairman in Office, and thank him for his statement. Azerbaijan supports the OSCE concept of comprehensive, cooperative, and indivisible security, and considers the organization as the most appropriate and unique framework for discussions on pan-European security under Chapter 8 of the United Nations Charter. We believe that as a regional arrangement, the OSCE has a potential to play more consistent role in encouraging its participating states to comply with their obligations under the United Nations Charter and the OSCE Helsinki Final Act of 1974, as well as to implement the resolution adopted by the Security Council and the General Assembly. As an OSCE participating state and elected member of the Security Council, Azerbaijan stands ready to contribute to these efforts. Mr. President, the OSCE provides an ongoing forum for discussion towards a settlement of the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan, which sometimes is mistakenly referred to as dispute over Nagorno-Karabakh or even the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh. The correct use of terminology is important to address the root causes of the problem, especially in situations involving flagrant violations of international law. It is well known that the conflict is being dealt with by the OSCE Minsk Group. The relevant resolution of the Security Council adopted in 1993 in response to the illegal use of force against Azerbaijan and occupation of its territories, 822, 853, 874, and 884, and General Assembly Resolution 62/243 on the situation in the occupied territories of Azerbaijan, adopted on 14 March 2008. Although the mediation efforts conducted for already 20 years have not always been consistent and have yet to yield result, Azerbaijan continues to be committed to the negotiated settlement of the conflict. We proceed from the understanding that all the core of the ongoing political process is the settlement formula based on putting an end to the illegal occupation of our territories, the restoration of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Azerbaijan, the return of forcibly displaced persons to their homes, and ensuring the peaceful coexistence of Azerbaijanis and Armenians in the Nagorno-Karabakh region of Azerbaijan. At the same time, the lack of agreement on political issues cannot be used as a pretext for contempt and disregard for international law, in particular international humanitarian and human rights law. Thus, continued illegal activities in the occupied territories of Azerbaijan, in particular those aimed at changing their demographic, social and cultural character, definitely serve to further consolidation of the current status quo of the occupation. In 2005 and 2010, on our initiative raised in the United Nations, the OSCE led fact-finding missions visited the occupied territories of Azerbaijan. Both missions documented the facts of illegal activities in those territories, involving inter alia the implementation of settlers, the extensive redrawing of boundaries, the changing of place names, and the discriminatory treatment with respect to the cultural property and the sacred sites. However, we are seriously concerned that the recommendations of those missions remained only on paper, and nothing is being done to translate them in deeds. Azerbaijan hopes that OSCE Chairman in Office will insist on the need to immediately and unconditionally cease all actions that cause serious obstruction to the perspectives of the negotiated and international law-based settlement of the conflict. Mr. President, it's essential to strengthen the OSCE capabilities in all areas of conflict prevention, crisis management, and peacekeeping. We expect that the OSCE chairmanship will continue working on all conflict cycle elements, having in mind the OSCE documents incorporating and reaffirming the relevant approach in this regard. We believe that increasing attention to mediation-related topics within the United Nations, including in particular the recent adoption by the General Assembly of the resolution on strengthening the role of mediation in the peaceful settlement of disputes, conflict prevention and resolution, as well as the development of the guidance for more effective mediation, may serve a useful basis for deliberation in the OSCE for upcoming months. We expect that OSCE will vigorously develop peacekeeping capacities in order to be adequately prepared for implementation of its role as a regional arrangement under Chapter 8 of the United Nations Charter and in accordance with Chapter 3 of the 1992 Helsinki document. Azerbaijan also believes that development of police component of the OSCE peacekeeping operations will contribute to the efforts in maintaining the regional peace and security. We consider it vital to further strengthening the cooperation and coordination between the United Nations and the OSCE in these areas. One of the OSCE major inputs to peace and security on the political and military dimension is mainly delivered through arms control and confidence and security building regimes. The work on updating and tailoring these regimes to the current security environment should take into account the legitimate security needs of participating states, especially those non-members of military alliance with conflict-affected territories and such consequences of conflict as military intervention and illegal deployment. The OSCE acknowledged a leading role of the United Nations in combating international terrorism and organized crime. In this context, better interaction between the two organizations, including inter alia through equipping the OSCE with the principle of cooperation and approach elaborated with the United Nations in that area, will undoubtedly serve the greater unity of purpose and action in addressing transnational threats. Azerbaijan attached great importance to cooperation between the United Nations and the OSCE in the field of human rights and fundamental freedoms. Promoting tolerance and non-discrimination, countering racism, encouraging dialogue among cultures and civilization, addressing fundamental rights of displaced persons, including their right to return, represent examples of areas in which the international community can benefit from close relations between the two organizations. In conclusion, I would like to touch upon a particular aspect of environmental security, which gives rise to the need of more coordinated efforts between the United Nations and the OSCE. Those aging nuclear power plants located in the OSCE area may pose serious risks to the security of states and their population. Therefore, the ongoing policy debate on stricter nuclear safety standards and the timely decommissioning of old-generation reactors represent an essential component of the targeted agenda on good governance and transparency in the field of security. We believe that the OSCE, along with other specialized institutions, including those within the United Nations system, based on its comprehensive and cooperative approach to security, might provide complementary forum to explore ways to address these challenges. Thank you very much.